So I have a question to start us off today.
Okay, hit me.
If I told you I was going to spend, like, thousands of dollars on a glass box, fill it with salt water, put these high-powered lights over it that rival the sun, and then spend every single weekend stressing about invisible chemical parameters. I mean, you'd probably tell me to get a new hobby, right?
I'd honestly tell you to maybe seek therapy or, at the very least, apologize to your savings account.
But that is exactly what we are unpacking today. We're doing a deep dive into the world of reef keeping.
Yes, we are.
And before you tune out thinking, okay, goldfish in a bowl, got it.
Yeah.
Stop. Because the source material we're looking at today, this guide on the why of reef keeping, it frames this completely differently. This isn't pet ownership.
Not at all.
This is world building.
It is. And honestly, calling it pet ownership is almost insulting to the complexity of what's happening here. The sources we have in front of us, they paint a picture of an obsession.
We're trying to figure out why this specific hobby, which, let's be honest, is difficult, it's expensive, and it's so prone to disaster, generates this, like, cult-like following.
It's not just having an aquarium.
No, it's about becoming a reefer, which is a whole identity in itself.
Right. It's a mix of biology, some heavy-duty chemistry, art, and psychology. So the mission for this deep dive is to understand that hook. Why do people turn their living rooms into science experiments?
And not just science experiments, beautiful science experiments. The source material starts with this really aggressive visual imagery. It talks about a reef tank as something that just stops you in your tracks.
It's not background noise.
No, it's a visual punch.
That's the hook then, isn't it? The visual aspect. The text describes it as glowing colors and motion. But let's, dig into that a bit. It's not just that it's colorful.
No.
Bag of Skittles is colorful. What is it about a reef tank specifically that just freezes people? Well, it's the interaction of light and water. The guide touches on this. In a modern home, almost everything is static. Your furniture, your walls, your TV when it's off.
Even your houseplants. They grow, but they don't move.
Exactly. A reef is constant, almost chaotic motion. You have the flow of the water, the swaying of the coral polyps, the fish darting around. It triggers something primal in our brains.
And the lighting plays a huge role here, too. The source mentions shimmering light. That's not just poetry, is it?
No, that shimmer is actually a technical thing. It's caused by point source lighting, usually high-intensity LEDs these days, refracting through the surface agitation of the water.
So you get these dancing lines of light on the sand.
Yeah, and it perfectly mimics the sun hitting the ocean floor.
Yep.
Our brains are just hardwired to find that calming.
It's hypnotic. And the text makes this really interesting observation. People actually replace their TV time with tank time. They call it reef TV.
I found that fascinating. The source says it's quiet and peaceful, but never boring. And I think that distinction, never boring, is critical.
Right.
You can stare at a beautiful painting, but eventually you've seen it. A reef is dynamic, it's unscripted. You never know if that crab is going to move that rock or if that fish is going to chase another one.
It's the original reality TV. But the colors mentioned in the source, these aren't just normal colors. They talk about fluorescence. I've seen these tanks. They look like a rave in the 90s.
Right, and this is where we get a little technical, but it's so cool. Most corals kept in the hobby contain fluorescent proteins.
Okay.
So when hobbyists hit them with heavy blue light, what we call actinic light, the corals absorb that high energy and re-emit it at a lower energy, usually as, bright greens, oranges, or pinks.
So when I look at a reef tank in the evening and it's glowing like a neon sign, that's actually biology at work.
Exactly. It's essentially a biological sunscreen. The corals produce these pigments to protect the symbiotic algae called zooxanthellae living inside their tissue from getting fried by the sun.
Wow.
But to us, it just looks like an alien landscape.
And that's the accessibility point the text makes. I mean, real coral reefs are deep, they are in the tropics, and they are sadly dying. Most of us will never scuba dive the Great Barrier Reef.
So this is a way to bridge that gap. The text argues that you're bringing that inaccessible beauty home. You aren't just looking at a photo in National Geographic.
You're maintaining a living slice of that ecosystem in your house. You're the custodian of it.
A threatened ecosystem, yeah.
Let's talk about that slice, because the text emphasizes that this is an aesthetic experience, but it's also a form of self-expression. It calls the tank the owner's voice in the room.
Which is a bit poetic, but it's dead-on accurate. Think about it. A painter starts with a blank canvas. A reef keeper starts with an empty glass box.
And every single rock placement, every coral, every fish, It's a choice.
It is, and the text contrasts the different styles to prove this point.
Yeah, it mentions the minimalist versus the fruit stand.
Right, so you might see a tank that's heavily influenced by, say, Japanese aquascaping, very little rock, lots of negative space, maybe just a few colonies of SPS coral.
Wait, you got to define SPS for us. I feel like we're going to see that acronym a lot.
Sure. SPS stands for Small Polyp Stony Coral. Think of the hard branching sticks you see in nature documentaries. They're rigid, they grow slowly, and they demand perfect water quality and massive amounts of light and flow.
So a tank full of those says something about the owner.
It says the owner is disciplined, patient, and probably likes order and engineering.
Okay, so then what's the fruit stand?
That's a slang term for a tank just packed with LPS large polypstonian soft corals, things that are fleshy, wavy, and come in every color of the rainbow.
It's chaotic.
It's chaotic, it's loud, it moves a lot, and that reflects a completely different personality type.
So if I walk into your house and see your tank, I'm basically seeing a map of your brain.
In a way, yes. Are you a control freak? You probably have an SPS dominant tank where every parameter is tracked on a spreadsheet.
And if you like a bit of wildness,
You probably have a soft coral tank. The key takeaway from the source is that there is no one right way to build a reef. It's art that happens to be alive.
and that alive part is where the trouble starts. Or I should say where the challenge starts. Because unlike a sculpture, this art piece has an opinion. It reacts to you.
That is the massive transition the text outlines, the shift from observer to participant. You don't just watch the tank, you operate the tank.
The source uses this analogy of the gardener. Knowing your fish like a gardener knows their plants.
It speaks to a level of observation that most people don't have. When you start this hobby, you look at the tank, you see the whole picture.
But after a year...
After a year, you look into it, you notice things no one else would ever see.
Like what? Give me an example of what a reef gardener sees.
Okay, so a normal person sees a clownfish swimming around. A reef keeper sees that the clownfish is breathing slightly faster than yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Or they'll notice that a specific coral polyp hasn't extended its tentacles fully, which might mean a crab walked over it, or it might mean the water chemistry is starting to drift.
The text calls these moments micro wins and micro losses.
Exactly. A micro win is something like a new growth tip on a coral, or a shy fish finally coming out to eat.
It sounds so trivial, doesn't it?
Oh, look, my slime rock grew a bump.
It sounds ridiculous to an outsider, but in the context of the hobby, that bump is validation. It's nature telling you are doing this right.
You've replicated the ocean.
Well enough that this creature feels safe enough to grow. That creates a dopamine loop that is, incredibly powerful.
It's a feedback loop based on nurturing. Which brings us to this concept of stewardship. The text gets a little heavy here. It says the keeper is part of the system.
I'd argue that's the most important philosophical point in the entire source. You aren't just watching. You are the weather. You are the tides. You are the sun.
That is absolutely terrifying when you put it that way.
It is. Think about God mode in video games. You have total control. In a reef tank, you control the flow pumps. That's the current.
The lights of the sun.
The filtrate. That's the ocean's ability to clean itself. The text says, you care for a world that depends on you. If you forget to feed the dog barks at you.
Yeah.
If you forget to maintain a reef tank.
It dissolves, literally.
Yeah.
If your alkalinity drops, that's the measure of carbonates in the water, the buffer that keeps pH stable, the coral skeletons can actually stop growing or become brittle.
If the temperature swings 5 degrees...
You can bleach the entire system. It's gone.
So this is not a set it and forget it situation.
Absolutely not. And that responsibility creates a bond. When you realize that this beautiful, fragile ecosystem exists solely because of your consistency, it hooks you psychologically.
It's like that IKEA effect on steroids.
Exactly. You value it more because you built it and you sustain it.
But here's the paradox that the text highlights, and I think this is really the crux of our deep dive. The hobby is described as relaxing and zen, but the source material is also just filled with horror stories.
The zen and the struggle, it's a complete contradiction.
Yeah, listen to this list of nightmares from the text. Corals refusing to open, algae taking over, heaters sticking in the on position and boiling the tank.
The algae taking over part is the universal experience. We call it the ugly phase.
The ugly phase.
Oh, yeah. Every new tank goes through it. You set it up, it looks pristine, white sand, clear water, and then about month 2, the biology kicks in.
And suddenly your beautiful ocean view
Is a swamp. It gets covered in brown diatoms, then green hair algae, maybe some red cyanobacteria slime. It looks awful.
And this is where people quit.
This is the great filter. This is where the eBay listings come from. Full setup for sale, gave up. But the text frames this hardship as essential. It says, you don't have to get it right the first time, you just have to stick with it.
Resilience.
It teaches resilience in a very direct way. You can't argue with chemistry, you can't negotiate with algae, you have to understand the problem, usually an excess of nutrients like nitrate or phosphate, and you have to slowly correct it.
Slowly being the key word there.
Right. There's a famous saying in the hobby, interestingly not in this specific text, but aligns perfectly. Nothing good happens fast in a reef tank.
Only bad things happen fast. That is good life advice in general.
It is. But when you do solve it, when you beat the algae or you figure out why that coral was unhappy, the payoff is huge. The text says it gives a sense of purpose.
I think that hits on something really big for our generation. We work on computers. We send emails. The results of our work are often so abstract.
Exactly. If I send a great email, I don't get a visual reward. But if I tune my protein skimmer, that's the filter that removes waste, and I see the water is verifiably cleaner, and the coral is expanding, that is tangible.
I saved that little girl.
It's something good. Yeah.
So the stress is actually part of the value. The stakes make the success feel real.
Precisely. If it were easy, if you just added water and it was perfect, it would be boring. The text explicitly links this to mental health. It claims the tank slows down thoughts.
The ritual aspect.
Yes. Testing the water, it's a ritual. You take the vial, you add the reagent, you watch the color change. It forces you to be present. You can't be doom scrolling on Twitter while you're trying to read a titration test for calcium.
It forces a break in the noise of modern life.
It's a meditative state induced by chemistry and water pumps. It's weird, but it's true. It provides structure.
In a chaotic life, having 1 cubic foot of ocean where you know exactly what's going on.
And you have the power to fix it. That is incredibly grounding.
Okay, so we have the beauty, the stewardship, the struggle. But the text mentions one more layer that keeps people engaged in the hobby. The rabbit hole.
It never ends. The text outlines a kind of progression ladder. Usually you start with soft corals because they are hardy, they wave around, they're forgiving.
And you get bored.
You get confident.
Yeah.
Then you move to LPS. Then maybe you try SPS, the hard sticks we talked about. Then maybe you decide you want to breed clownfish.
Or maybe you want to automate the whole thing with a controller that sends alerts to your phone if the pH drops by 0.1.
Right. Or build a sump, which, for the listeners who don't know, is basically a second ugly tank that lives under the pretty tank to hide all the equipment.
It's the engine room.
Exactly. And designing that is pure engineering. Plumbing, flow dynamics. The hobby just expands to fill whatever part of your brain needs stimulation. If you like biology, you focus on the coral. If you like gadgets, you focus on the gear.
And you don't have to do it alone. The text highlights the community aspect, which I found surprisingly strong.
It's a huge retention factor. Because it's so hard, you need a tribe.
The frag swab.
Yes. This is so unique to reefing. So corals grow. They're colonies. You can break a piece off, fragment it, or frag glue it to a little ceramic plug, and it will grow into a new colony.
It's like taking a cutting from a plant.
Right.
But wetter.
Yeah.
And much more expensive.
And alive, yeah. So people meet up at these frag swaps and they trade pieces of their reefs. I'll give you a piece of my neon green toadstool for a piece of your hammer coral.
It creates an underground economy.
And an I know a guy network. Oh, you have flatworms. I know a guy who knows how to treat that. And because everyone is battling the same villains, algae, chemistry, equipment failure, there is this shared camaraderie.
Shared trauma bonds people together.
It really does.
And the source mentions this bleeding into your real identity. Like you become the reef guy or the reef girl.
You start putting stickers on your water bottle. Your social media feed changes from photos of your lunch to macro photos of zoanthids under blue light.
And your friends stop asking, how are you?
Mm-hmm.
And start asking, how's the tank?
But there is pride there. The text notes that as a tank matures, and we are talking 2, 3, 5 years here, it becomes the centerpiece of the home.
It's an achievement.
It is. When guests come over, they gravitate toward it. And you get to be the guide. You get to explain, see that fish? He pairs with that shrimp. They live together. You are sharing the world you built.
It's the long game. And I think that's what distinguishes it from just buying a painting. A painting is finished. A reef is a process.
That's the summary right there. It's a relationship with nature.
So if we step back and look at this deep dive as a whole,
Hmm.
We have the visual hook, the biology of fluorescence. We have the God mode responsibility of water chemistry. We have the resilience learned from battling algae.
And the community built around sharing all those battles.
If you had to boil down the why do people stay up late testing nitrate levels?
Hmm.
What is the core philosophy here?
I think the text makes it clear. It's about active participation.
Yeah.
We live in a world where we consume so much. We watch movies, we eat food, we scroll feeds. Reef keeping is about nurturing.
It's about patience and consistency in a world that demands speed.
Right. They start for the pretty colors, but they stay for the purpose. They stay for the peace.
They stay because in a world that feels out of control, they have this little glass box where if they work hard enough, they can make things perfect.
It's benevolent control. Yeah.
That's a powerful thought, a small square of order in a chaotic world.
Exactly.
Okay, we are almost out of time, but we always like to leave the listener with something to chew on. A final thought that takes what we've discussed and pushes it a little further.
Right. We spent a lot of time talking about how the tank reflects the owner, that voice in the room concept.
The minimalist versus the fruit stand.
So here's the question I want you to walk away with. If you were to build a world right now, your personal ocean, what would it look like? Would you build a system that is rigid, perfectly clean, highly demanding, and predictable?
Yeah.
Or would you build something that is overflowing, tolerant of a little mess, moving with the flow, and wild?
Minimalist control or chaotic abundance.
And more importantly, what does that choice say about how you are handling the chaos of your real life outside the glass? Are you trying to control the waves, or are you trying to learn how to sway with them?
Ooh. I feel like I want to be the swaying type, but my calendar says I'm the rigid control type.
I think we all aspire to be the soft coral, but we act like the stony coral.
We'll let the listener decide which reef they are. That is all for this deep dive into the philosophy of the reef. Thanks for swimming with us, and we'll catch you in the next one.